So as I said, this is just going to be an overview of Zonta, both international and locally, and who we are and what we do. Next slide, please, Beth. A good place to start is our mission. So Zonta International is a leading global organization of professionals empowering women worldwide through service and advocacy. We work to improve the lives of women and girls in our community and worldwide, and we do it through our service projects, our educational projects, and some of our awareness campaigns. So I'm going to touch on a few of these areas as we go through the presentation. So the next slide, please. This next slide is Zonta's vision. What do we envision the world would be? And we envision a world in which women's rights are recognized as human rights. Every woman is able to achieve her full potential. In such a world, women have access to all resources, and they are represented in decision-making positions on an equal basis with men. And in such a world, no woman lives in fear of violence. Sorry about that. Next slide. So Zonta International is in 62 countries. We have about 1,100 clubs. 10 of those are e-clubs. And then we've got about 28,000 members. And here in Santa Clarita, we have 50 members currently in our Santa Clarita Zonta Club. Next slide. Okay, the big picture, as I call this. So Zonta International is divided into 32 districts worldwide. We here in Santa Clarita are part of District 9. In District 9, there are several areas, and we are in Area 3. So we share and interact a lot with our other 4 clubs in our area, which are Porterville, Antelope Valley, Burbank, and Conejo Valley. I see e-clubs. I think that was the question. E-clubs started because a lot of people wanted to become part of Zonta, but they didn't live in a community where there were actually clubs that had physical meetings. So they actually, before the pandemic, they actually met online, and they would become involved in different projects, even though they weren't physically close to each other. So that's what an e-club is. Okay, next slide, please. I hope that answered the question. If not, I can talk about it more at the end. So how is our club structured? We have 2 boards. We have our club board, and that's on the left side of your screen. And those are our 7 upcoming members of the board. And we go into our offices on June 1st. And then on the right side of your screen, we also have a foundation. The foundation is an IRS designated 501c3 nonprofit. And we have about a foundation board that really looks out over our fundraising, our scholarship applications, and our allocations, budgets, and other financial matters. The club board on the left side of the screen, we oversee all of the committees that our club has going, and we work with them to make sure all of our activities and our projects and our scholarships get accomplished. So that's how our structure works. So let's go to the next slide. So how do we keep in touch with each other? Well, up until last year, we would have monthly business meetings. There's a picture there on your screen. It was a great opportunity to see each other and socialize for a little bit. And then we sat down and we would have our monthly business meeting. And these monthly meetings is where we share with each other what the committees are doing, how the scholarship committees are working, how our fundraising is doing, things like that. So obviously we took our in-person meetings and we went Zoom last year, and we've been doing it like we're doing here tonight through Zoom. And I know that I speak for most of the Zontians here that we're looking so forward to getting back to in-person meetings because there was a little bit of social and a little bit of business. So it was always a great evening. Next slide, please. So the Zonta Club of Santa Clarita really keeps itself going with committees. So we have got advocacy committees, we've got service project committees, we've got a committee overlooking the Zonta Club at the Golden Valley High School Z Club, as we call it. We've got committees on our scholarships, our community grants, our fundraising. And this year especially, we have put a lot of effort into our marketing and our public relations campaign. And we've got a terrific committee that's been working on that. And some of you may have even seen some of the posts on Facebook or Instagram about tonight's event. So that helps us spread the word and about the different projects that Zonta is involved with. Next slide, please. So in advocacy, there we go. One of Zonta International's global initiative is to end violence against women and girls. So they have a program called the 16 Days of Activism. And we participate here in Santa Clarita by hosting our Red Dress Project. And we hang these 7 dresses at various places around the city. And they represent 7 women who lost their lives to domestic violence in 1 year here in Santa Clarita. So at these locations around the city, we have a resource pamphlet that we hand out, and we aren't selling the red dresses. We're not trying to do anything like that. We're just bringing awareness to domestic violence and how you might not think it's in your community, but sometimes it is. So this is a powerful way that we bring awareness to our community of Zonta's global initiative of ending the violence against women. Next slide, please. I mentioned community awareness, and this is just a picture of a banner that we had the city hang up on one of our overpasses. I think this is McBean near the mall or just north of there. Again, just awareness in our community of what Zonta is about and that we say no against violence to women. Next slide, please. Okay, some of the other things that we're involved in this domestic violence, and one of the up and coming, unfortunately, areas is human trafficking. So we have started recently in the last couple years, the backpack project. And what we do is we fill these backpacks full of some essential items, and we give them to other organizations that we partner with who are also trying to fight human trafficking, and also the police departments and sheriffs and things like that. So if they have a survivor coming out of human trafficking, they get a backpack that has just some essential things, some clothes, personal hygiene items, because if we're able to get them out of the human trafficking situation, they have nothing, they come with nothing. So this gives them a little bit of something of their own as they leave the human trafficking ordeal. Next slide, please. Okay, a couple other of our service projects. Girls robotics. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to have girls robotics this last year. But before that, we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, and we were teaching the girls, and I think it's ages about 9 to 14, how to build and program little Lego robots. And they would come to our meetings in the spring, and they would have their robots, and they would run around, and they would show us what they did. And this is all going to foster their interest in STEM. So that's, science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's always wonderful to see their enthusiasm. And we're hoping, excuse me, that we get back to that program as soon as possible, hopefully in the fall. Another project we took on is supporting foster youth. So this is a project that foster youth that have aged out of the system and are on their own don't have a lot of support. So we, this little picture here, we represented stockings to them at Christmas time and filled with little goodies and some gift cards, because for the most part, they're not that close with their foster families when they leave. And a lot of times they don't have any family, so we were their family. And then the picture on the right is our program, which is Life Forward. And Life Forward is a series of workshops that we have gone onto Zoom with, which has actually been really great. A lot of people have been able to attend, even if they couldn't attend when we did them in person. And we cover a lot of different topics that help women and men and anybody actually improve their lives. So some of the Life Forward workshops we did this year, we did one on coping with living with COVID. We did one on mindfulness, self-care. We did one on understanding and preparing your tax returns. We did one on single parenting, starting a business, and then another one in conjunction with our Z Club at Golden Valley High School called Uncomfortable Dating. So these are great 1 to 2 hour seminars or workshops, and they help provide skills and resources for people to improve their own lives. So let's go to the next slide. There we are. And I just was talking about the Z Club at Golden Valley High School. So Zonta International believes that young people are critical to achieving gender equality and critical in ending violence against women and girls around the world. So we have Z Clubs, and they've been a long-standing project with Zonta International, so that we can mentor young leaders in high school. We can help them to develop their leadership skills. They can explore careers, and most importantly, they can become involved with service projects. So this is an exciting program that just got started this year. They had one fundraiser that I know of back around Thanksgiving time, and I believe they raised enough funds to help 500 families around Thanksgiving time with food for their table. And during COVID, that was a huge accomplishment. So we were very proud for their service project back then. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to switch gears on you now. And I've been talking about the Zonta Club of Santa Clarita, and I'm going to go international now. Just give you a quick interview of what we do internationally. And a lot of this is the same thing that I've said already. You know, Zonta believes in making the world a better place by empowering women. And internationally, we do this in a community of like-minded professionals from diverse countries all over the world. Zonta International has a lot of global initiatives. I've mentioned a couple of them. The advocating to eliminate violence against women and girls, working to close the gender gap in education is another one, and ending child marriage is another of the global initiatives. So the next slide, please. So the Zonta International board works the same way we do. They have their board, and it's 4 elected people on their international board. Let me have the next slide, please. Those are our current 4 board members with the international board. And they also have 7 elected international directors. And those 4 plus the 7 make up the international board. And then of course there is a slew of committees on the international level as well. Next slide, please. So the international service projects are a little bit different than what we do here locally. Zonta International has partnered with many agencies and other organizations, UNICEF and the United Nations, and they are working to fulfill some of their global initiatives. So a couple of them are listed there. We have the Adolescent Girls Health and Protection in Peru. And that project is responding to the health needs of adolescents, especially girls, and in preventing violence in schools in Peru. One of the other one is strengthening the response to gender-based violence. And in Papua New Guinea and Timor-Leste, or Leste, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, and I apologize. They too are working with survivors of domestic violence and trying to eradicate that as well. Let Us Learn in Madagascar is about a project and working again with other agencies and organizations. And their goal is to help pursue the right of every human to have an education. So there's a picture down there, I think on the bottom right, about some children in Madagascar. And actually they look pretty happy being in school, and they are very happy doing that. So a lot of times they're not given that opportunity. And then lastly, we have Ending Child Marriage, which I've talked about already. And I know Zonta International, I believe, is active in about 12 countries in Africa and Asia, trying to bring awareness to this problem of child marriage and helping to overcome it by encouraging women to stay in school and get an education and not marry at a very young age. Next slide, please. So Zonta International Scholarships. The Keystone Scholarship is the Amelia Earhart Fellowship Award. And Amelia Earhart was a Zontian, and in honor of her, they set up a fellowship award. And this award goes to women who are pursuing PhDs and doctoral degrees in aerospace engineering and space science. Some of the ZI fellows have gone on to become astronauts, aerospace engineers, professors, and astronomers. And they receive an award of $10,000 each year if they are selected. That goes towards their pursuing their advanced degree. We also have Young Women in Public Affairs. That is also a local scholarship that we give out, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's also given out on the international level. And the Young Women in Public Affairs is targeted to young women who demonstrate leadership skills and a commitment to public service. So Zonta International receives applications starting from the local level, and then they get passed on up to the international level, and women are selected to receive those awards. Zonta International also has a business scholarship. It's Women in Business, and they also have a Women in Technology scholarship. Before I move on, I want to go back to Amelia Earhart. The Zonta Club of Santa Clarita is very proud to have two Amelia Earhart Fellows in our membership. One is Dr. Sharon Leyenbeck, and she is a member of our club. She is also our international president these next 2 years. And then we have a new member, Colleen Maurice Reading. She was a Amelia Earhart Fellow in 1995 when she was pursuing her degree in aerospace engineering. And she is a newer member with us, and we're so proud to have her. So with that, I'll go on to the next slide. I mentioned these before, that the Zonta International partners with organizations across the world, UNICEF, UN Women, and then there's also the UN Trust Fund. Now, the UN Trust Fund is interesting because it provides grants to organizations that are supporting projects that coincide with our mission. So we partner with them with that. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to bring it back to our local level. And these are Zonta Club of Santa Clarita scholarships and awards. So on the left there is one of our recent awardees winning the Young Women in Public Affairs Award. We recently gave out an award or a scholarship for a Gal Women in Technology scholarship. And then in the center there, we have another very important scholarship and award here in Santa Clarita called the Virginia Rage Memorial Award. Virginia Rage was a member of our club, and around 50 years old, she had some crises in her family, and she had to make a big change in her life. She was able to go back to school, and she was actually able to fulfill her dream of becoming a flight attendant. So before she passed away years later, she set up a fund to help women who are going through some kind of a challenge in their midlife where they've had to pivot because of a crisis or a health issue. And Zonta Club of Santa Clarita gives out awards to these women to help them, you know, in their pursuit and in their pivoting of whatever challenges they're facing. So we give out that award every year. It's just specific to us here in Santa Clarita, and we're very, very proud of it. The picture actually contains a picture of Randy Rage, and that is Virginia's son, I believe, who still keeps in contact with us to this day. Next slide, please. A couple other scholarships that we have here locally. We are also doing, along with Zonta International, the Women in Business Scholarship. And then we too have started another new scholarship, and it's the Joanne Rodriguez Memorial Scholarship. Joanne was a longtime member of the Zonta Club of Santa Clarita. And in her honor, we have a new scholarship coming out for women who are studying for a degree and a career in business accounting. So that scholarship actually is brand new, and it'll be launching later on this year. And we're excited about that one as well. Next slide, please. One of the other things that we do here at Zonta is we give out grants to other nonprofits, and we invite other nonprofits to submit project suggestions to us and ideas of projects that they want to do, and we review those, and we give them money to help complete those projects. Since 2011, we have given out over $51,000, so in 10 years, over $51,000 to various nonprofits here in Santa Clarita. And usually they're causes that again coincide with our mission. So some of the organizations that have received grants are like the Boys and Girls Club, the Senior Center, the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center has received some, Single Mothers Outreach, and Family Promise. And I know I'm leaving out some, but those are the ones that came to mind to me over the last few years. In the center there at the bottom, that was just last year where we gave an award to Carousel Ranch. It was a grant, and they have a program with women and women with disabilities going into the workforce. And then on the right there, there's an organization here in Santa Clarita helping these foster youth that have aged out of the system. And they also had a project that we gave them money for. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've talked a lot about a lot of the scholarships and a lot of the grants. And the other huge aspect of our organization is fundraising. Because we love to fundraise, we have a good time fundraising, and we want to fundraise because we want to be able to give out scholarships and grants and awards to people locally and internationally. So this last year, we were able to have our Luna Fest Film Festival. And we've had this for many years. Usually it's been in a theater, and it comes with food and drink and popcorn. So if I haven't said already, everything with Zonta comes with food. We're big on the food part of everything. So this year we didn't want to not do Luna Fest, so we thought outside the box, and we held Luna Fest Film Festival as a drive-in film event up at Castaic Lake. And we were able to follow protocol. We were able to hand out hot dogs and popcorn in a bag. And we had a parking lot full of cars, and we were able to watch the film festival. So the Luna Fest Film Festival is a series of 6, 7, or 8 short films, and they're made by women, and they're about women or women's issues. And they are actually sponsored by the Luna bars that you see in the market, the protein bars. This has always been a fun event, and we're looking forward to doing it in person again. And if not, we'll do another drive-in. We've also did for a few years running a wine festival, and we partnered with Reyes Winery and the Sierra Pelona Vintners Association up in Acton area, and we had a wonderful wine festival. We've done fundraising events at the Comedy Club. We've done Painting with a Twist. We've done some summer socials, and a slew of other events, and we always have a good time. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about our Women in Service event. It is slightly a fundraising event, but more importantly, it's an event where we honor other women in Santa Clarita for the service that they give to their organizations where they volunteer. So we invite nonprofits in Santa Clarita to nominate somebody who's been an outstanding volunteer in their organization that year. And then we have a large luncheon, and we honor each of them. And then of them, we select one woman to win the Carmen Sorrow Super Outstanding Volunteer of the Year Award. That picture down there at the left is Carmen Sorrow. Her daughter is still a member of our club, and she was just an incredible woman in our club when it was first starting. And in her honor, we always honor another volunteer from another organization every year. This year, we postponed last year's, and this year on May 15th, we are going to have our Women in Service event, and we're going to have it on Zoom, and it should be a lovely event, at least the best event that we can possibly do on Zoom. And we're looking forward to getting back in person on that one as well. Okay, next slide. Here are just a couple pictures, some fun pictures of our Luna Fest event. So at the bottom on the left there, you see that we're all enjoying our popcorn and at the theater there, the Canyon Theater, and going to watch our films. And this was in the past. Next slide. And then last year, this is a picture, it's hard to tell, but we were up at the Castaic Lake. We did have our masks on. We were serving our hot dogs and our popcorn, and it was a great event. It was lovely. It was a beautiful evening. We had some music playing. We were able to enjoy it from our cars, and then we watched our films, and we were able to raise money to put towards all of our various grants and our scholarships. Next slide, please. I'm just going to catch up. This is a picture or a series of pictures from our wine festival at Reyes Winery. And I believe this was from about 2 or 3 years ago. Next slide. So we have a number of socials and fundraisers, and I could go on for hours listing them all, but I thought instead I would just throw a few pictures up here. We've had, our 60s dances, and we've had our holiday parties. And being together, this group of women, we accomplish a lot, and we enjoy each other's company, and we're friends for life, and we help promote and carry on all of the Zonta projects that are so important to all of us. Next slide. So just briefly, I mentioned earlier that this year we really worked on our social media campaign. I guess it was because everybody was on social media, there wasn't much else to do. So we have a very active Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and we make sure to post both our events and just awareness to either domestic violence or gender inequality. Whatever the topics might be, we make sure to keep those things out there in front of the world, and so that they know what Zonta does and what our missions are. Next slide. Okay, it looks like it might have cut off at the bottom there. I just wanted to post for you our information phone number. If anyone here has any questions, leave us a message because that's a voicemail system and we will get back to you. Or you can email us at info@zonta.org. I know that all of my fellow Zontian members would love to chat with anyone about what we do and how we do it and what we're all about at any time. So reach out by phone or by email. And I also encourage you to look at our website, which is scvzonta.org. And you can also check out the international website. There's just a slew of information on there as well, and that is zonta.org. Next slide, please. With that, I will end my presentation, Beth.